Well, this was a movie, I guess. Hello, guys, this is Jack, and today we're going to be talking about Jurassic World Rebirth, the new latest entry in the Jurassic World Park universe. This film is a standalone sequel to the last film, Jurassic World Dominion, which ended off with some of the legacy characters and Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard kind of like venturing off onto the sunset. So now you have a full set of new characters played by Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, Jonathan Bailey, Rupert Fiend, and just new cast of characters that are completely autonomous and away from the other characters that were established in the last couple of Jurassic World films. And even before that, this film, plot-wise, is basically a return to basics as far as bringing back the general vibe of what Jurassic Park is supposed to be. Normally, as you can kind of tell when you see the trailers that have been plastered around, the internet and just everywhere around. But the plot here is basically you have a couple of scientists and criminals who are being recruited by a shadow government corporation that is trying to find the cure for diseases such as like heart disease and other diseases just as like cancer. And instead of, doing the normal way of things with science, they've decided to kind of find a way of having these people go to a skull-like island to extract blood and piss and other, bodily fluids from these dinosaurs that are deformed in this park area inside of the island. And from there, you have these characters who are trying to, get the secret sauce. And in between, there is a family that is also struggling to survive inside of the island. And those two storylines kind of converge together into one big, boring, lazy, and retreadable entry in the Jurassic World cinematic universe. And heavily emphasis on retread because the actual, story of this film is basically a full-on retread of everything you've seen before with the past several Jurassic Park films. You have, dinosaurs who are acting slow, who creep around and don't make sound, apparently, and they constantly kill humans in, very surprising ways. But also at the same time, you have several humans who act stupid. Their motivations are very generic and just plainly just awful. And on top of that, you also have other characters who aren't explaining their own, aspirations. Instead, they're just like, all right, we just have to, do X, Y, and Z without any explanation or emphasis of the matter at hand. And you also have characters who have descriptions that are just like pretty much generic and dumbed down. I keep on repeating myself, but Scarlett Johansson's character, Zora Bennett, is a covert operation expert, basically a code word for a criminal who just only cares about money and money alone. And this shadow corporate guy, played by Rupert Friend, I said Fiend, but it's actually Rupert Friend. This guy shows up and he's just like, yo, like, I can give you a lot of money if you, go to this island to extract all this blood and piss from these dinosaurs so we can, cure cancer and heart diseases. And she's just like, all right, cool, I'll do that. Without any, other explanation whatsoever. It's just like, oh, we're just doing this. Same with like Mahershala Ali's character, Duncan, who is the team leader. He's just kind of a guy who's just like, yeah, I'm just here. I'm just doing my thing. I'm just, hanging out around. And that's kind of sad because I think Mahershala Ali is better than this. And he's a 2-time Oscar winner. And frankly, he just has nothing to do here. Same with Jonathan Bailey, who is a baby throughout this entire movie. He's just a paleontologist who is just very like bug-eyed and like baby-eyed when he sees, dinosaurs roaming around the earth, like he hasn't seen one before, which is pretty fucking awkward. And then even then more so, furthermore, you have this family who is just there to pad out time past the, 2-hour plus runtime. This whole family is just annoying and just lame and just characters who are just exploratory and just there to, ramp up the action sequences, which, by the way, the action sequences in this film border between just like, we've been here, done that, or just other, action sequences that have been kind of like been shown, before in other entries. I will say the raft sequence hasn't been shown in like other films, as it's basically kind of played out just like, normal action sequences, but also at the same time, it was used for the novel of the original Jurassic Park book. They didn't use it for the movie, the original movie, but they used it here. And I think Gareth Edwards, despite him trying to like pull back a lot of the motifs of Spielberg's original film, and he's playing it very safe and very trite and very lame. That sequence alone, the raft sequence, was just pretty entertaining. Same with also the scene with the big flying dinosaurs. They're big chompers trying to like kill one of the story characters, this black French pilot dude who just dies. Like, you already know who's going to die immediately once all these characters are quote unquote established. And, there's only 2 black characters. There only have to be 1 black character in this film who can survive, and that's Mahershala Ali. And even more so, it's just another entry of, same old bullshit that we've seen before. Now, I may ask myself, and just to the viewers who are watching this review, what is the point of, making another Jurassic World movie if you're trying to do it over and over and over again, the same shit over again? And frankly, the answer is, it doesn't matter. It just really doesn't matter. This is basically kind of like an insult to the intelligence of the Jurassic World fans and just general audiences alone. They deserve better, attention to, the story and just the overall vibe of Jurassic World. There's more to, this universe that you can explore, but this film refuses to do any of that whatsoever. Instead, it just, plays it safe, plays it, corporate boardroom, type of thing. But even then, I was kind of bored throughout the entire movie. I'm not going to lie. And I think the actors in this movie are really trying to, work around the first draft syndrome problems of the screenplay. And even then, bringing back David Cope for, this film, who actually wrote the first Jurassic Park movie, would have been, pretty cool. But here, he just writes the first draft, and he just, kind of throws it at the director, Gareth Edwards, and Gareth Edwards was just like, all right, well, I have the first draft, so I might as well just, shoot this thing. And, Universal was just like, okay, well, we got to rush this out for, the movie to come out next year, so let's just use the first draft and just shoot it and, shoot around some of the problems we have in the first draft of this screenplay. And, people will go by and see it because it's a Jurassic Park movie. They're going to get, dinosaurs and endless, action sequences. And even then, once the action sequences end, you're just left with another boring, character film full of just other, generic character motivations. But overall, I did not enjoy this movie. I give this a 2 out of 5. I got to thank the black audience in this theater that I was watching with when I saw this a couple of hours ago, because they really ramped up the energy of the movie, despite this movie being flatlined throughout. There's one black lady in front of the row of where I was sitting, and she was constantly yelling and screaming a typical black audience is oh, hell nah, don't do that. Shit. Like that type of thing. And I ate it up because, my race. But even then, yeah, this was not good. Total insult to the intelligence of the audience. And yeah, I think the next film's not going to do the same thing, hopefully, but it probably will. It'll just be another, Jurassic World movie that does the same thing over and over and over again, and we'll see it, get $1 billion again because people like to eat shit up. But yeah, 2 out of 5. If I really have to, rank this film over the other Jurassic Park World films, this is certainly better than the last 2 films. God damn. And even then, I will kind of defend the second Jurassic Park film and even the third one, because the third one has that crazy scene with the talking dinosaur that says Alan. Alan. But yeah, that's it. I have nothing else to say. Awards-wise, if I really have to, put my stocks in it, VFX, best sound design, maybe. But even then, I think the VFX in this movie is kind of all over the place. Sometimes you'll have peaking green screen craziness. And other times you'll have some really cool looking dinos designs and like animations. But even then, it's just nothing new. It's just something we've seen before. There's nothing else to really, nominate it for, quite frankly. But yeah, that's basically it. But yeah, peace out. Goodbye. See you later. I don't know, it's a movie.
Alan!